Hey everyone, welcome back to Knowledge Hub. Today we're diving into a question that seems simple, but is actually more complex than you might think. How many countries are there in the world? You might be surprised to learn that the answer isn't as straightforward as it sounds. So let's break it down and explore why the number of countries can vary depending on who you ask. Get ready because we're about to embark on a global adventure. First things first, how many countries are officially recognized? The most widely accepted answer to how many countries there are in the world comes from the United Nations, UN, which currently recognizes 193 member states. These are the countries that are widely acknowledged as independent nations by the international community. In addition to the 193 member states, there are two observer states, the Holy See, Vatican City, and Palestine. Although they are not full members of the UN, these observer states are recognized as sovereign entities with unique international status. When you combine the 193 member states and the two observer states, the official number of countries recognized by the UN stands at 195. However, the story doesn't end there. The number of countries can vary depending on different perspectives and criteria. Some regions and entities consider themselves independent and operate as countries, but are not universally recognized by the UN or its member states. This complexity arises from various political, historical, and diplomatic reasons, making the question of how many countries exist in the world more nuanced than it might seem at first glance. Despite this, the United Nations recognition of 195 countries remains the most widely accepted and referenced figure. Now things start to get a bit tricky when we talk about countries that are only partially recognized or disputed territories. Depending on which entities you include, the total could reach anywhere from 196 to 206 or more. It all depends on the criteria used to define what makes a country. Some regions declare themselves independent and function as countries, yet they lack widespread international recognition. For instance, Taiwan operates as an independent nation with its own government and economy. But due to political pressure from China, many countries in the United Nations do not officially recognize it as a separate state. Similarly, Kosovo, which declared independence from Serbia in 2008, is recognized by over 100 countries. Yet others, including Serbia and some major powers, do not acknowledge its sovereignty. These situations create a gray area where the status of these entities is contested, leading to varying counts of how many countries actually exist. In addition to Taiwan and Kosovo, there are other regions around the world with similar disputes, such as Western Sahara, Northern Cyprus, and Abkhazia, to name a few. These regions often have their own governments, military forces, and national identities. Yet their lack of full recognition on the global stage keeps them in a sort of geopolitical limbo. Depending on which of these entities you choose to include, the total number of countries can vary significantly, potentially exceeding 200. This highlights the complexity and fluidity of international relations and how the definition of what constitutes a country can differ based on political, historical, and diplomatic factors. Next, let's talk about territories that are not fully independent but still have a unique status. These are known as dependencies and special administrative regions. Dependencies are territories that, while having their own local governments and varying degrees of autonomy, are overseen by another country. For example, Greenland is an autonomous territory of Denmark, and Puerto Rico is an unincorporated territory of the United States. These regions often function with considerable self-governance, yet they do not have full sovereignty or international representation as independent countries. While they operate under the jurisdiction of their governing states, these territories maintain their unique cultural and administrative identities, adding another layer to the complexity of counting countries. Special administrative regions like Hong Kong and Macau further complicate the picture. Both are part of China but enjoy a high degree of autonomy under the one country, two systems principle. This allows them to maintain separate legal, economic, and political systems from mainland China. While Hong Kong and Macau are officially Chinese territories, their distinct status means they function almost like independent nations in many respects, including having their own currencies, legal systems, and border controls. If one were to count dependencies and special administrative regions as separate countries, the total number could increase significantly, further illustrating the fluid and multifaceted nature of what defines a country. Another reason the number of countries isn't fixed is that new countries can emerge over time, and sometimes existing ones break apart. History is filled with examples of how political shifts, wars, and independence movements have reshaped the global map. A significant event was the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, which led to the creation of 15 independent countries, including Russia, Ukraine, and the Baltic states. Similarly, the breakup of Yugoslavia in the 1990s resulted in the formation of several new nations, such as Croatia, Serbia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. These geopolitical changes show that the number of countries can increase over time, reflecting the dynamic nature of international borders and national identities. More recently, in 2011, South Sudan gained independence from Sudan, becoming the world's newest country and the 193rd member of the United Nations. However, the possibility of new countries emerging still exists, as there are ongoing conflicts and independence movements in various parts of the world. Regions like Catalonia in Spain and Scotland in the United Kingdom have seen significant pushes for independence, which could potentially lead to the formation of new nations in the future. These examples highlight how the number of countries in the world can fluctuate, driven by the aspirations of people seeking self-determination and the ever-evolving nature of global politics. So after all that, what's the final tally? How many countries are there in the world? After exploring the complexities of defining what constitutes a country, we arrive at a widely accepted figure, 195. This includes the 193 member states of the United Nations and the 2 observer states, the Holy See, Vatican City, and Palestine. This number is the most commonly referenced when discussing how many countries exist in the world. However, as we've seen, this figure doesn't account for the nuances of partially recognized states, disputed territories, and regions with unique statuses like dependencies and special administrative regions. The exact number of countries can vary depending on the criteria used to define them, with some estimates pushing the total over 200. Ultimately, the question of how many countries there are isn't just a matter of counting names on a list. It's about understanding the fluid and often contentious nature of global politics and international recognition. Whether you consider the UN's tally of 195 or include other entities that claim independence, the number of countries in the world reflects a complex tapestry of history, culture, and diplomacy. The answer might change over time as new nations emerge, territories shift, and the political landscape evolves. Therefore, while 195 is the most recognized number, the true count of countries in the world remains a subject open to interpretation and debate. And there you have it, the answer to a deceptively simple question. We hope this video helped you understand the complexity behind counting countries. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell for notifications on more fascinating content. What did you find most surprising about today's topic? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.